It's a new week in the Crew Motorfest and we have a new summit. This one is called Japanese Custom Volume 2 and this is my summit guide. Let's go. All right, real quick before we get into it, if you're looking for any of my tunes, you can go to militiagamingcode.com, click on Motorfest Pro Settings at the top, and you can see all of my pro settings along with some others from the community. All right, let's get into it. The cars in the Summit bundle this week are the Nissan 300ZX Z32 Malu Edition. This is a special edition car from the Crew 2. You now can buy that if you don't already have it. The Mazda RX-8 and the Nissan Skyline GTR R34 racing car. You're going to need a few additional vehicles, but not as many as last week. You've got the Zivco Edge, which is a plane with score breaker parts with skilled and pure as your affixes. And then you've got a drag car of your choice with Nitrochemist and Pure and Frenetic as your affixes. And then I recommend the Cento Dieci with Nitrochemist and Pure and Extra Pump as your affixes. All right, and this week, because all of the vehicles in the events are loaned except for the Feats, the keys to the summit are really just learning the shortcuts. I'll give you pro settings for the 3 additional vehicles, but besides that, we can't really do that for the summit bundle because all of the vehicles in the summit are loaned with the exception of the Feats. All right, here are the pro settings for those, and then we'll get into the events. All right, the first event is called Kaido Yōshiki, and this one's going to be in the R34 racing car. I'm going to show you my second lap and just point out everything that I feel is necessary to help you be more successful. Starting with the first turn right here of the lap, cut it near the tree on the right side of the flag, and then go straight across here and go cut left. Now on this next turn, it's pretty important to maintain on the road. Maintain on the road, is that a thing? Stay on the road, plain English. Stay on the road, don't cut this on the corner. It just makes the car super unstable, and these racing cars handle very, very well. So stay on the road. You can keep a good amount of speed through here. Same thing here. Don't cut onto the sidewalks. Here you should be nosing into 6th. And then when you get close to this corner, it's important to slow down. This corner is pretty tough, and it just feels a little bit awkward because you're coming off this sidewalk and the car bounces a little. So let it settle, then go ahead and get back on the throttle and make sure you make the turn. Now this corner, I might have taken this a little bit wide, I can't remember, but you can cut this very, very close to this building. So even closer than I did, you can go through this brick wall on the right side of this checkpoint, and that actually would set you up better for the next corner because you'll be going a little bit slower and you can start accelerating a little bit faster. So I went a little wide on this one. You want to try to get to the right a little more. On this part, you're going to go as fast as possible without using a ton of NOS because you're going to have to slow down here on this corner. I recommend going to the right of that checkpoint flag because it sets you up perfectly for this left-hander, and this is a very tight left-hander. I hit these poles on purpose to help me slow down because I'm going very fast at that point. So slow down a lot, try to cut on the sidewalk there because you're going to cut it back right here between this big tree and this, I think this is a parking structure. So we cut it back this way, get on the road, then go ahead and use NOS. This corner you're going to cut right after this downtown sign and on the left side of this pole here. You don't want to hit that. Let me back up a little bit. This is a dangerous little jump here. The car will jump and it'll just completely throw you off. You don't want to hit that. Get wide on the right here and then cut it back to the left. And then NOS through this section here. But then downshift and brake. You want to get as close to this building as possible. There's a lot of things in this area that's going to cause the car to jump and become unstable. The higher gear you're in, the better. I don't even think I actually did that. I should have. Maybe 5th or 6th gear going through here just to keep the car settled. But if you look, a lot of bouncing going through that section. On this corner on here, you're going to make a left through these bushes right after the checkpoint flag. And then you can NOS through this section. And then you've got one last turn here. Try to get wide left and then cut it back. I actually did it poorly. Didn't even hit the apex. That's a 311, so it's a decent time. All right, the next event is called Dori Matsui, and for this one, there's a couple of things that are really important. Let's talk about the car first. the car is very oversteery, which means the more throttle you give it, the more the back end is going to kick out and you're going to lose traction. So half throttling through some of these turns is really important. So on some of the longer sweepers, use half throttle, brake early to get to the speed you need to take the corner, because if you're out of control going into the corner, you're going to have an issue slowing the car down. You're going to break traction, and then when you go to accelerate out, the car is just going to slide. So just half throttle as much as possible around some of these sweeping turns, and just be patient with your NOS until you get onto the straight and your car has full traction. You don't want to waste any of your NOS. Anyways, I'm going to show you my second lap. I feel like this one was one of the cleaner laps out of the 4. But with this first part, there's definitely something really important here. So I ended up drifting this section right here. Now to drift, NOS and handbrake while turning into the corner makes you flick like that. It does slow you down a little bit because you're using the handbrake, but it's got to be just a tap. You don't want to hold down the NOS and the handbrake. Just tap it as you turn in and the car will flick like that. But what I was going to tell you actually is you don't have to drift it. This corner right here does provide a gutter, so you can actually slow down and take that gutter. The difference for me in the times was about a second. So I was running a second faster by drifting rather than actually guttering. And if you're okay giving up that second, then just use this gutter. But you can drift, downshift into third for this corner, and then half throttle around this corner until you get to here, and upshift into fifth slightly early, and then blast your NOS. Again, around that corner, it was slightly off full throttle. I wasn't full throttle around there because I didn't want to break the back end loose. You can tell it started sliding a little bit, but you just have to really be patient with the car because it will break loose. Nothing special on this corner here. This is full throttle, downshift into fourth, brake, and then make your way around the corner with half throttle. And then when you get to fifth, go ahead and blast it all the way to 180 miles an hour. The two straights, that's where you want to use your NOS. The other parts, you don't need to use NOS. Just use them on the straights. All right, the next event is called Shakotan Yōshiki. And this one, there's a lot of like little things. So let's go through them. Here at the beginning, try to avoid everybody, but you need to go right. I would go right just because it's a little bit more clear, and then I cut it back left to pass these last two AI. You need to control your speed a little bit here. You're going to be tempted to like cut onto the road or onto the sidewalk a little bit, but don't. Just control your speed, slow down a little bit because you want to cut this corner real tight here. Half throttle through here. This car, again, very slippy. Then cut this corner here on the left. Try to grab that gutter. Now I slid a little bit, so for me really wasn't that good. I could have taken that a little bit cleaner, maybe not, you know, as bumpy. Yeah, there's definitely some improvements there, but you get the line, and that's really what we were trying to get. All right, the next thing we should talk about is this jump right here. You need to shift into a higher gear once you jump. Fifth, then sixth, using NOS the entire time that you're in the air. That sets you up with really good speed going through this section, then you can let your NOS recover. Now for this, I downshift a little bit right before and try to brake so that we can take this corner with as much speed as possible. Here you're just trying to gain as much speed as possible without using NOS because you need it for this jump. A little burst in the air, then a big burst on this one, and that gets your speed way up there. Try to stay to the left of this jump. I went a little too far left, but it worked out okay. Again, I was a little out of control, but you get the picture. Now on this corner at 42%, I didn't do it super good, but this is what you want to do. You want to go through this little opening between this pillar and the building here. It looks way tighter than it is, but when you get through here, this road opens up quite a bit, and this line really helps you take this corner like a lot faster. This one cut right here is going to save you a lot of time. All right, at 48%, you'll cut across the grass here and reset when you get to this checkpoint, and then you'll cut across on the right here. Use NOS in the air here, and then control speed once you get to here because you want to cut to the left of this flag. Notice the car was all over the place, and then you probably want to cut to the left of that flag I absolutely can save some time there. On this turn here, you're going to cut to the right of the flag and use the curb as a gutter. And then finally here at 91%, you can cut to the right of that flag, go across the grass, and head your way up the hill. And then finally you can use the gutter here. I didn't do it very well. Kind of fell out of it, but there you go. Nos to the finish, and you're good to go. All right, the next event is called Murasaki Fantasy. And this one, I'll just show you my first lap. It's basically a rinse and repeats type of situation. So starting out here, you want to stay to the right of the AI because you're going to cut it near this tree. Now, I touched the NOS there. I recommend don't do that on the first lap. You can NOS on the second lap here. But you got to wait till your NOS builds up a little bit. This turn here, you can cut a little bit just to make the corner a little bit easier. Get wide on the left here, then make this gutter. This is an important gutter to hit. Let me go back. This is a very important gutter to hit. If you take this full speed, you'll just hit the grass on the left. You gotta hit that gutter. It's really important. It doesn't seem like it's important, but it's important. Cut across to the left here. You can use the gutter if you like. Be using NOS sparingly just to get up to top speed over here. Gutter here. I went a little bit wide because I missed the gutter a little. And then try to get on the curb or gutter on that side. And then the same thing on this one. Then cut this corner on the right. And the corner on the left. Then go straight across and cut right. Now you're home free. You got to NOS a little bit, but then control speed on the final corner. This is a third gear turn. Then you're going to rinse and repeat. All right, the next event is called Kyusha Yōshiki, and I'm going to show you my second lap on this one. This one is going to be fairly difficult, I think, for a lot of you guys. The car bounces all over the place. It's difficult to control, and there's quite a few like difficult shortcuts. So let's talk about those. So on this first one, it's a third gear, very controlled turn. I used fourth on the second lap. I should have used third. Anyways, here you're going to want to get as much speed as possible, but don't use your NOS until you hit the air a little bit here, and then right here, blast it. So let's rewind that so you can see that jump again. So this first one, I hit it fairly straight on the right side. Then once we get to this side, I'm just pointing to the left. I want to make sure that I hit this jump and then clear. You trying to clear this pathway here, but if you don't, it's okay. We'll try to make it onto this one and then just keep NOSing this entire time. Notice it gets me up to about 160 miles an hour. There's a way to actually clear this like all the way and be on the left side of this ramp. It's just really, really difficult. So I recommend doing it this way because it's much easier. All the way over. Gives you a lot of speed regardless. On this corner, I stay in a high gear. Cut it right after the wall. Aim for this flag and then downshift into third to control speed in this section. Then there's a reset directly after this jump. You're gonna reset here. Now this reset is tricky. If you're not pointing to the left, if you're not steering left before the car spawns in, you're just gonna end up in the wall because it resets you sort of like behind this fence. So you have to be turning before you actually respawn back in. On this jump, you can use some NOS just to, you know, go a little faster. This is a third gear turn. It's a difficult turn. The car wants to jump a lot. Now in this section, you've got lots of curbs and bumps, and you have to be turning through a very tight section. I recommend being in fourth gear or above. Sometimes in fifth and sixth, car actually settles down quite a bit. I ended up going through it in fourth, but on my first lap, I was in fifth. So however it feels easier to you, but higher gear definitely helps. On this one, you're going to want to point slightly to the right. Notice the position, slightly to the right here on the jump. And don't NOS on the way up, only NOS while you're straight in the air or falling. Because if you NOS on the way up, you're just going to clear the checkpoint and not get credit for it. So NOS while you're falling. Notice how I pointed the car to the right a little bit in the air. That's important too, because by this time you're going to be going fast. You won't have a lot of control over your car, and you need to hit the right side of this checkpoint. Again, in the air, control your car, turn to the right a little bit. When you get past here, you're going to reset the car here, and then try to cut this corner as close to the wall as possible. And then you'll take this jump and nos to the finish line. All right, let's move on. All right, and the last event is called Shokunin No Kuruma. And I know I'm butchering these names. I apologize, but it is what it is, man. There's a lot of little things in this race, and it is quite a long race, but I'm going to try to point out as many things as possible and take you through it. There's just some things that will save you a lot of time, and then there's some things that will save you a little bit of time, and I'm going to focus on the lot of bit of time. So this first part, follow this GTR through the pack here, go left, then cut back right. You want to be on the right side of these guys for this first cut. So this cut will happen here. You're going to cut back. There's a little like foundation here that'll mess you up at the very bottom of this like big sign here. So you're going to have to stay to the right of that. So go to the right. You can go to the right of this checkpoint flag pretty far without it telling you missed it. And then continue on. For this jump, you're going to point directly at the checkpoint flag and then start to turn your car a little bit right and nos in the air the whole time. The reason you turn right is because if you don't, you'll end up in the wall on the left. Look how close I was to going to the left. You could have hit that brick wall. This corner, you're going to heavy downshift and brake. Try to grab that gutter. There's a beach cut here on the left, or on the right, excuse me. Nos a little bit, control speed. I just go ahead and hit the wall there and just continue driving. You could reset it, but I think it's a little bit slower. Another beach cut here. You can go ahead and continue on. You don't have to slow down at all for that. I made a little bit of a mistake coming out of the grass. This turn is going to be a gutter turn. It's important that you hit it. I missed it a little bit. Definitely could have saved some time. On this turn at 36%, just some small things. You can cut pretty far to the right. It's important to be there. And then if we fast forward to the turn on 37%, right, follows right after it, you can cut to the left of this turn. Now, I personally did this pretty bad, but you can actually hit this gutter and make this turn very, very easily. I went very wide here and ended up in the grass. Didn't cost me too much, but it's important to do it. This one at 39%, you're going to cut all the way to the left of the checkpoint flag. You can cut it pretty far left. That sets you up nicely for this turn, which, by the way, try to stay on the road as much as possible. You can use this gutter, but if you cut this turn, the car's going to bounce. It's going to send you into the grass way over here. So if you stay on the road, it's a much cleaner transition. Makes it easier for that turn. This only works in the racing category though. On street cars, you can cut that corner pretty hard. Leading up to this first bridge at about 47%, you can cut to the left onto the grass just to make this turn a little bit easier on the car. I ended up drifting a little bit, but it was okay. And then cut this one like basically right after this tree. Again, try to control your speed because you'll end up in the grass on the other side. All right, coming up on this right-hander at about 56%, you should be going pretty fast. You should be in 7th gear. You should have used your NOS to get there. And this turn can be a small down, just one downshift into 6th, and then almost full speed. I think if you're really skilled, someone like Rhino or something like that, those guys probably could take it full speed with direct mode, but I'm not on direct mode, and I think it definitely hurts me in situations like this. So this one, gutter this turn, almost full speed. I really didn't have to brake much for that one. I just downshifted. And then when you get to this corner at 58%, you're gonna gutter this as well. Mine really wasn't that well done. It could have been done better. All right, on the upcoming hard left-hand turn, there's going to be a reset, but I forgot that it was a reset in this clip and I slowed down. You can take this full speed into that corner. It'll reset you with speed going the right direction. So just make sure you get through the checkpoint and reset. All right, aside from that, you're pretty much home free. Just you know, a lot of gutter turning going into the finish line. All right, let's get into the feats. First up is the low altitude. For the low altitude, you do get a higher multiplier if you fly upside down, but I'm telling you right now, it is not necessary. You can get a full max score just by flying straight up, and that's what I ended up doing. It's not really that necessary, and this low altitude is particularly difficult to fly upside down. Moving on to the speed trap, this one does take a little bit of explaining. For this one, I drove the Cento Dieci up the mountain, through this tunnel, and then up and around this hill to get on top of the tunnel. Then once you're there, switch into a drag car, and if you don't know how to fast switch your cars, you need to set the drag car as your favorite before you start the summit event. Then once you're up there, click the right stick down, click on ground vehicle, and it should put you in your drag car. So you're going to take the drag car and then nos it off the roof of this tunnel towards the speed trap. You need to hold back on the left stick so the nose of the vehicle goes up and the nos carries you through the air. This will get you over 300 miles per hour, which is really all you need for this. I mean, you can get more if you're using a plane as well, but that is way more difficult. You can fly a plane towards the speed trap and switch to the drag car mid-air, then use your nos mid-air to get through the speed. It's just a mess, man. I don't recommend that method unless you really want to get a few more points on there. You can just do it this way. It's a little bit easier, and it might take you a few times to actually get it right. Remember, you can rewind during these feats. If you don't hit the right angle when you're jumping off the top, just rewind and try again. That way you don't have to keep driving all the way back around. All right, and the last feat is the escape. I'll go ahead and let my full escape play out so you know exactly where the route is. This one is tough, and I did it at night. So you know the cut through the trees at about 70% is definitely going to be more difficult, but just know that you need to cut there and find your way through. All right, enjoy. All right, here are my final scores. Remember, if you have any questions about this summit, please don't hesitate to send me a DM on either Discord or Instagram. I check every single message and I do reply to everybody. All right, thanks for watching. I hope this helps. I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.